Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I have an exciting video, at least exciting to me. Hopefully I can make it somewhat exciting for you guys as well. But it is discussing the GTD method, so the Getting Things Done method by David Allen, how I've implemented it into my planner, why I've implemented it into my planner, and just kind of an overview for those of you who have not heard of this system before. Please do not crucify me if I get something wrong. I, haven't been practicing this for like 20 years and I don't know every single detail. So if you guys are interested in this productivity method, I encourage you to read the book. It is a great book. I listened to the audiobook on Audible just because I am a mom of two. I'm currently at home with both my girls because my youngest is... This always gets into a long story, but she's turning 1 and I'm in Canada. We can get up to 18 months because of COVID, of mat leave. Because of COVID, I decided to stay home for a little bit longer. Anyways, that's why I'm home with them. And so I don't have time really to like read a book, or I would take like literally a month probably to get through like half a book. So the audiobook was great. I got it through Amazon Prime. You get 2 free credits and a free trial to Audible. So free book. For those of you who don't have Amazon Prime, you can still get 1 credit, I think. So it's a free book. Anyways, I'll link them down below. I don't want to ramble about it. Okay. So the reason why I started implementing or thinking about implementing it into my system is because I was starting to find myself getting overwhelmed. So, we're currently undergoing renovations. We're actually about to move out at the end of this week. So between trying to plan renovations, my youngest's birthday is coming up next week. My older daughter's birthday is a month from now. Just day-to-day, life. Planning meals and planning whatever. All these things were coming up. And I'm great at writing lists, and I have been doing lists for a long time and planning for a long time. But, I would write a list in this inbox. And then I would write a list in my on-the-go planner. And then I would... Oh, sorry, guys. Woo. And then I would write a list, in another planner or whatever. And so I just was finding that I didn't have peace of mind because I wasn't comfortable that I had one list that included everything, And it just felt like my system was like all over the place. I'd write it here and write it there. I'd have certain lists for my YouTube ideas or certain lists for my shop. I have a planner, printable shop. My shop ideas, and I would write lists, but I didn't review them on like a periodic basis. I didn't have a single list that encompassed everything, and I just wasn't feeling on top of things, and things just kept piling up, and I was just starting to feel a bit overwhelmed. This is why I decided to dive a bit deeper into Getting Things Done. You guys might have heard of it at a high level, or maybe you haven't, but at a high level, I had heard of it before, and I just thought, you write things down and make sure you write it down in an inbox, and then you have a project section. I've heard of these different sections, or you have a next actions category, but I never really understood what they really meant. I kind of just thought it was like, if you have ideas, write it in an inbox and call it a day and, review it and whatnot. So I decided to take a deeper look. And, as soon as I started listening to the book, the first thing that they said is, if you truly want to clear your mind or, have your mind relax, and I'm sure you guys have felt that before, where you just have all these things in your mind, you write them all down, but you don't feel relaxed, which is what I was starting to find. I was writing them down in lists, but I just was not feeling relaxed. One of the first things that David Allen said in his book is, the way to truly relax your brain is you need 2 things. One is to write down everything that you're thinking in your mind. It can be something small. It can be something for the future. It can be something you don't even know if you care about. Just write everything down in one place. And 2, not just writing everything down, but the second thing that's really important is having a system where you frequently check and you clear those items. And I think that was my problem, is I didn't frequently check. I didn't have a good system of checking and clearing those items. So they would just build up and I would just keep adding to them. So I never felt cleared of them because I didn't feel like I was going back in to check and, check off what I had done or add or delete what I hadn't done or wasn't applicable anymore. So I want to do this in a way where it's more exciting. I know we're just talking about a planner system. It's not going to be the most exciting thing, but I think the best way to show it without just going through, his general diagram, that if you guys are interested, you can just Google this. I don't want to just, go through each step with you. I kind of want to show you how I've applied it while discussing his concepts, and I'm hoping that that might make more sense. Okay, so his system is made up of 5 steps. And the first one is to capture, so write everything down, kind of just talked about that. 2 is to clarify, and not just writing it down, but also going back and what kind of item is this? Like, is it something that you don't need an action on? You're not gonna do anything. You don't care about the item anymore. You just want to get rid of it. That's trash, right? Or is it something that you're going to do like maybe 5 years from now, or maybe not do, or maybe you are going to do, or is it something you're going to tell somebody else to do? That's kind of what he defines as clarifying. And then 3 is organize, which is putting it in a category. So it could be, list sections or whatever. 4 is reviewing and reflecting, on those task items. So doing those checks every day and crossing it off and, making updates to it. And then 5 is engage. Okay. So I just wanted to get those 5 steps out of the way, and then I'm going to show you how I've applied it. So these are the inserts that I created. It's a Getting Things Done bundle that's available on my shop. You guys don't need this bundle. Not telling you to go buy it. There's other bundles on Etsy you could look up, or you can just put it on a piece of paper, just have sections of, paper. It doesn't have to be special. It's more just the system that you want to focus on. Okay, so we talked about those 5 steps, and the first one is easy. 1, capture. Write everything down. You need a place to write everything down. Typically, people call these inboxes, right? You don't need to title it inbox. It can just be a list. It can just be a piece of paper. It can be anything. The whole point is to write everything that you're thinking on a piece of paper, and that's what he calls capture, right? Even if you have, for example, I have a little tray of random things. So, when you get a bill, or, maybe a newspaper article that you want to read, or whatever. I don't even know. Whatever it is that you need. Sometimes it can be a physical item. Sometimes it can be a thought. But you want to unload everything into one common place. Okay, so for example, I have this tray of certain things to remind me, but I take those things and I write it down on my list so that I can have that comprehensive spot where I know all of my ideas, tasks, to-dos are in one spot. Another one that you guys probably use is your phone. I write things on my phone all the time, but I make sure to add it into my inbox section. Pretty straightforward, right, guys? And the second item is to clarify, right? And that's where we talk about what is the item, okay? So it's not enough just to say, you could put on your list, for example, I don't know, you could write down, like, for example, here what I have is like I'm renting a bouncy castle information. So I'm renting a bouncy castle for my daughter's birthday, and I've written it down here, but what's the next thing that I need to do, right? Is it already booked? Is it that I need to call the company and get more information? Is it that I want to make the deposit? What is the action? Is it that I'm telling my husband to go pick it up? I don't know. There could be, a lot of different possible actions for each to-do list item. So it's not enough just to write it on a list and call it a day, right? So how David Allen proposes that you clarify the actions is to ask yourself, is the item actionable? And what that means is, think about if it's something that you can actually perform an action on, or can you act on it, right? So for example, if it's, a bill you've already paid off, or just a receipt, a random receipt, let's say, in your wallet, you found a receipt, or, I keep doing that. In your inbox tray, you found a receipt. Do you need that receipt anymore? Or is it something that's been completed? Sorry, these are just my notes. Something that's you bought and it's over, right? So that's not an actionable item. So what you do is you take that, see that? It's not actionable, you don't need it, throw it in the trash, okay? Or another item that could be not actionable, for example, is something that's not actionable today. So it could be something that you might or might not want to act on in the future, okay? So this could be like, I want to go to Hawaii at some point. Well, you're not going to do anything about it right now, but it's something that you might want to do in the future. Or like, I want to go see a specific museum at a specific place. It might be something that you want to do in the future. So you write that on what they call a someday or maybe list. That's just a title. You can, title it whatever, but that's just the concept. And then the last thing is it could be an item that you don't need an action, but it's something you want to keep track of. So for example, maybe you bought a new furnace and you want to keep track of, what the furnace model is and who you sourced it from. You want to put that in your reference section, okay? So I'm just going to show you on my insert, my inbox insert. See, I've titled it actionable, yes or no. We just talked about the no. Obviously, I don't have one for trash because you don't need to record anything, but I have it for someday maybe and reference, okay? And I should actually show you the final one, but okay. So then you have items where, is it actionable? Yes, it could be actionable. So these could be things that, one, it's something that you yourself want to do, or maybe you want to get somebody else to do for you, or maybe it's something that needs to be done on a specific day, a specific time. Or maybe it's a project or something that is more than one action. For example, for my daughter's birthday party, for example, I had to first, research what I wanted to get for her birthday. We're not having an actual party, but, I still wanted to make it special for her. I wanted to research, what can I get for her? 2, I had to call up the bouncy castle places to see if they deliver. 3, I had to actually call them and see, is that 2? 3, I had to make the deposit to book it. And then 4, they deliver whatever, right? So it could be multiple steps, and that's what they define as a project, is anything that has more than one step, okay? And I think that gets really helpful because, for example, in your inbox, you have the one line usually for each task, right? If I put get bouncy castle, well, I need to separate that out into several steps. I can't just have the one line, because if I say, get bouncy castle, but the first step is to call them, and the second step is to make the deposit, and then the third step is to, let's say you have to confirm a week ahead. I'll never be able to cross this off, and I don't know which step I'm on, right? So that's why they define anything with multiple steps is a project, and it'll go in your project section, and then you'll only carry over the one step that you're working on. I hope that kind of makes sense, okay? So let me show you here on the inserts. Calendar, next action, waiting on, and projects is the 4 actionable steps, right? Not actionable steps, sorry, actionable categories under the yes, it's actionable. So calendar means sometimes you have something that you can't do at this moment, but you do on a specific day. So for example, I don't have any here with me. So for example, we're doing a family photo shoot on a specific day, and I wanted to remind myself that I needed to get the food prepared ahead of time, because by the time the photo shoot was done, we'd be home really close to bedtime, so I wanted to have food prepared. Well, I can't do that now. I have to do that on the day that the photo shoot is happening, right? So I put a little tick to say this needs to go into my calendar. And that's part of the process of step 3 of David Allen's process of organizing. So now you have to organize the items that you wrote down in your inbox, right? So step 2 is clarify. Step 3 is organize. The two of them kind of go hand in hand because you're thinking about, oh, which section does it go into under clarifying? And then 3, you're kind of going to move that into that section, okay? So following that example, if I need to do that, that example that we just talked about the food, what I would do is I would put it in on that day. So you guys might, may or may not do pre-planning, and you might do it in different types of ways, but some people do it on, a monthly spread. Some people use weeklies. I use dated weeklies. Currently I'm using it in my Hobonichi weeks. And so what I do is I go into the day that the photo shoot is, and I write that note to say prep food before I go to the photo shoot, okay? So that's the first section, calendar. And also just a note is that these categories, if you think about it, everything that you need to do will fall under one of these items. And that's what's crazy is like, it's really only like 6, 7 if you count the trash, but that's not really. It's only 6 categories, but you can really encompass everything into these 6 categories. And so I just thought it was like really, really interesting, but let's continue. Okay. So the next thing is, the next thing is the next action category. And this is the category for things that you yourself are going to do. That is a one-step task, right? Because every task that has more than one step is categorized as a project, okay? So don't get it confused with what you traditionally think as a project. Just anything that you need more than one step is a project. It can be as easy as like, writing a card. Step 1, you got to order the card. Step 2, you got to write the card. Step 3, you got to give the card or something, right? Everything with more than one step is a project. Okay, so in next actions, I have a tab for my next actions insert. So you don't have a calendars insert because, you just use your traditional, weekly, daily, whatever calendar inserts that you use. So I didn't create that. But for me, for the next one is my next action. So these are all the things that I need to do myself. That's a one-step task, okay? And within here, you want to categorize these by their action. And so what that means is, for example, you might have tasks that you need to do on the computer. Order, I buy a lot of things from Amazon. Order things on Amazon. I don't know, check your work schedule. That might not be a great one, but what else do you need to do at the computer? Look up, research bouncy castles. These are all things that you do in front of a computer. So it's nice to be able to organize these actions based on that action category, right? Because then next time I'm in front of a computer, I can say, okay, let me scan my list quickly and see which items I need to do that require a computer. Instead of trying to dig through, a task schedule and being like, which one do I need to do in front of the computer? Which one needs the computer? Now it's really easy to see because you can just put a dot, oops, out of frame, on all those tasks where you need to do in front of a computer. So some of the common ones that most people would apply to, and sorry, these are my personal ones, but in the actual ones on my shop, do I have one from my shop? Maybe I don't have one here. Okay, so in my personal one, it says home, mommy plans, but in my shop one, that's just replace that with work. So for example, home, work, planner, errand, computer, and contact. And those are the actions that I've categorized by. And you can do whatever suits you. So in my insert bundle, I actually also have one where it's blank. So you could just add whatever categories you want. But say, for example, you have 15 minutes and you want to make a couple quick phone calls. Well, scan your insert list and see which ones are under my contact, or you could call this phone, whatever you want. Which ones are under my call list? And in that 15 minutes, I can make those phone calls. Or I'm out doing some errands, and what other errands can I do since I'm already out? And you can just scan that list and quickly identify those. Or, I'm already working on my shop items, whether it's, I'm doing Etsy stuff or using the Cricut machine or whatever, then I might as well do the other ones that are part of my, work task. Or it could be you're physically at work and these are the items that need to get done at work. So it can be really tailored to, what suits you, but those are a lot of the common ones. So that's your next actions. Okay, then you have another category. If I flip back to my inbox, I'll show you again. Then you have another category of waiting on. So sometimes you could be delegating something to somebody, a task to someone, or you're waiting, you called, your insurance company and asked about, what your insurance currently covers or some specific details, and they're supposed to call you back. So you're waiting on that. So this is where you put things where you've delegated or you're waiting on. And so in this insert, I just have, for example, what the item I am waiting on is, the due date. So I thought about like whether or not to include this, but I did ultimately because it is nice to come in and see, oh, like I have to have that answer by this date. And so if you know that that date is coming up, then you might want to do those follow-ups. So I have 3 columns here for, my first follow-up, my second, my third follow-up, and some notes. So actually I changed that a little bit on the final ones in my shop. I put description, what the date assigned was, like when I asked them to do it or when I called up, and then my first and second follow-up, and then notes. I took out the due date in this section because I just thought maybe you could add it in the notes if you want, or if there's no due date, you don't need to. So I just thought this might be a bit more versatile, and then you probably didn't need 3 follow-ups. Instead, I expanded it so you could put the date of when you followed up. So yeah. So that's the waiting on insert. So pretty self-explanatory. There we go. Oh my God, I'm getting so excited that like I can barely talk. I don't know if you can tell also that I like somehow developed allergies. Like I never had allergies. I would make fun of my husband, like, cause he would get these allergies and be like, oh my God, like it's like being sick. I can't breathe. And I'd be like, oh, you're such a baby. And like 5 years later, now I have allergies for some reason. Anyways, random note, but it sucks. Okay. So then the last one under actionable is projects. So again, those are the multi-step tasks, right? And so I put in a project insert here. So, these are items that again have multiple steps. So for example, in this is kind of like the main project insert. I also have a detailed one, but I have as an example, home renovations. And I put a reference code here, and I'll show you why this is important later. But so for example, home renovations, and then I put in the due date. But I think on the insert that I have in my shop, I can't remember if I have due date there or I took it out. Anyways, if you guys take a look on the shop, you'll see that that box is still there. I just can't remember if I took out due date as a title. Just to make it a bit more versatile, because some people might not want to have a due date. But anyways, okay. So, home renovations, Hannah's birthday, Victoria's birthday, my daughter's birthdays. When I was revising my GTD method inserts, these are all projects. And so you can have a due date or put whatever you want here. And then I put here in the tasks 3 boxes because you can put in the specific tasks that are within that project. But if you have a bigger project that needs like way more than 3 steps, I also included a details insert, which then you can list out all the steps in your project. Or you could just title this, for example, home renovations, and this would be your list. And you can put the reference of, which project it was on, especially if you're recording details of multiple projects. So that's how I've been planning for my projects. And I do have quite a few going, if you see that. So, this is the only, number 4 seems to be the only one that has, more than the 3 steps, whereas the other ones I was able to fit in the 3. The home renovations, I actually had originally created other projects. These are my older project inserts that are also available on my shop. So I had already started the project on this, so I just kept it on this. This is kind of just like a project tracker on one page, has like The percentage completion, your project info, a space for whatever notes, action plans, and tasks. So I just continued that, but I listed it in my master projects. Okay. And then going back, so now those were the actionable items. And then I also have 2 sections for the not actionable items. So recall that was, the someday maybe, so something for the future or for reference. So I have a someday maybe. It's pretty straightforward list of just things that I want to do in the future. And then I also have a reference section of some lists that I want to keep, to buy list or whatever that I just want to reference in the future. So I just put it in the reference section here. So I don't know if that made sense, guys. I hope it did. I'm always self-conscious about my explanation skills. So I hope that was helpful. This has really helped me a lot. Oh, I do need to talk about, the review part. So backtrack for a sec. Hope that made sense though, guys. So that is really the meat of the getting things done method is, doing this whole system. And what this has helped me to do is kind of relieve myself of a cluttered brain, in that I know that everything that I've been thinking about is in this one spot. Again, you guys don't need to follow this method. You guys don't need to use these insert. Use whatever method you is working for you. But I just found that this way of tracking has just really helped me, because not only do I have a list of everything that I have thought about and I may or may not do. I know that it's all in my inbox, but at the same time, I've also categorized it into a way that's easily digestible and helps me be efficient at completing those tasks, especially the next action section. When I'm already doing or in that environment, it's easy for me to do, all those items. The other thing that I had in my shop that I forgot to mention, or just I keep talking about the inserts in my shop. I'm not telling you have to buy it, but just for those of you who maybe are interested, I have 2 general inserts. So if I have other, task ideas, or I want to categorize, my next actions or my waiting on in a different way, then I can use one of these general inserts. So one is just this task list insert. And then another one is a half task and half grid, which I thought might be interesting because, if sometimes you need to draw something, for example, or quickly write some notes or something, this one might be helpful. And so as an example, in my next actions, I'm currently, have my renovations going on. And with my contractor, sometimes I have some items that, is something that I want to discuss specifically with them. So I wanted to have my own category for that and not bury it in here, because it's something that's temporary. Obviously, I'm not going to have contractors. I'm not going to have renovations going on forever. So I didn't want to have a designated line, but you could. Instead, I just thought it's easier in a separate insert, right? So you could use this insert for that. So that's really the meat of it. But then another important part is step 4, which is reflect. And they mention a lot about weekly reviews. And I think the thought of a weekly review, for some reason, it takes on this huge task or something, or makes me feel like it's this big thing, and I just don't want to do it. And part of it, I think, is the fact that if you wait a whole week before checking these items, it could be out of control depending on how many things you add per day. So for me, I like to do a quick glance of this daily. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't and that's the other thing, is people would have these big weekly review, 10-step process. And to me, just looking at it and thinking about it, I'm oh my God, I don't want to do it. It was already hard enough to write things down in one spot, let alone thinking about this 10-step process of what to do with it. So what I've been doing is just do a quick check of it at the end of every day. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a weekly review. It can be just at the end of the week, you're planning. I just call it planning. As part of your planning, you could do the check or just do it daily, So that's what I do is, and it's not necessarily every day, but every couple days when I have a minute, I'll just quickly scan, you know, my list and see, oh, what's, you know, kind of outstanding and what can I do in that moment. And then at the end of the week, I always plan on Sundays for, you know, the next week. And I'll at the same time, at that time, do a review of all those items and just see what I can do and get done. So I don't think it has to be like this enormous task. If you do a little bit daily, then it becomes a much easier thing. But the most important part, going back to the beginning of this video, is making sure that you do go back and check it and cross it off, whether it's daily, whether it's a few days, whether it's weekly. You need to go back and check it, because as soon as you stop checking it, you then get that mental clutter again, because you're like, oh, you're not checking it. So you have to feel like you have to remind yourself again, because you don't have a physical reminder because you're not looking at it. I hope that makes sense. And then the last step, the 5, engage, is really just do it. Okay. And that's one of the things too that he talks about is if there's tasks that'll take you less than 2 minutes, don't write it down. Just do it. It'll only take you less than 2 minutes. You're probably just, you know, delaying it because you like don't want to do it because you think it's a small thing. So just do that task. Okay. And it's only things that take longer than 2 minutes that you write down. Okay. What else can I talk about? I think that's pretty much it. I mean, this has been a really long video, so if you guys made it to now, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys found this useful. Again, like I said, I'm not an expert by any means. This is just what has been working for me. I've been doing this for probably about a month now. Yeah, so I really encourage you guys to listen to the audiobook or buy the actual book. I'll link them below, as well as anybody who's interested in the inserts. And if you have any questions, let me know below. If you guys have been, you know, implementing this method and using this method for many years, please give me and give us your tips and advice in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. I'm sure others would as well. So I think with that ends this video. I hope you guys found it useful. I'd love to hear if you guys are thinking about implementing it and how you're going to in your planners. And thanks again for watching. If you guys liked this video, I'd love for you guys to subscribe, give this a like. It really helps my channel. I do a lot of, you know, planner related videos, DIY tutorials, plan with me's, etc., etc. If there's something you want to see, let me know. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.